Good day, my OM TQM students, and welcome to the discussion of Lesson 2 Decision Making. I uploaded already a video for our Activity 2, and that Activity 2 is part of Decision Theory, which is again represented by a payoff table. So this is the preliminary discussion for decision making. For this video, we will just focus on decision making. So at the end of the lesson, the students will be able to enumerate the different phases of decision making, identify the different types of decision environment, know how to use the different model in decision making, and apply the different decision making models. In our day-to-day activities, we are considered as decision makers. So in every activity that we are going to do, there are different alternative courses of actions or different choices with us, and from those different choices or alternatives, we do make decisions. The mere fact that you are watching this video, it's a result of your decision. So if you had eaten something earlier, that's a result of your decision. If you had chosen to still have online classes instead of face-to-face class, it's a result of your decision. So the same on the function of an operations manager. An operations manager is, of course, a decision maker. It is one of his basic functions. So on his everyday task in a business, there will be different courses of actions or alternatives for him in order to find solution for a certain problem in an organization. So in an organization, there will be problems that will need solutions right then and there, and there will be problems that you have to undertake the decision-making process. As I have mentioned earlier, the operations manager is considered as a decision maker. So there are decisions that he has to make right then and there, or he has to make a decision immediately. So let us say at the course of supervising the operations of the business, one equipment explodes or one equipment turned into fire. So that means that very moment, you have to get the fire extinguisher and put out the fire. So you have to make a decision right then and there because that is a very crucial moment. You don't need any more to convene your line leaders or your production operators, then decide on what thing to do at that very moment, because you have to make the decision right then and there, which is to put off the fire. Unlike on different problems being faced by an organization, so let us say they had failed to reach their objectives because there are problems on their product design, on their process design, they have to relocate the business, they have to convert their process. So it must undergo the decision-making process or the different phases of decision-making before we come up with a good decision for our business. So it would take time. There will be different study or researches that must be conducted before you come up with a decision. On situations like that, the decision-making process will be undertaken having the following phases. So first one, we have to clearly identify the problem, because if we fail to identify the real problem, so everything will be misled. Okay, then we have to specify the objectives. Why are we doing this decision-making process? What are these for? And then we have to develop different alternative courses of action. So that represents the possible solutions to your problem. You have to evaluate the different alternatives. So if you had chosen 3 alternatives or possible solutions to your problems, you have to analyze them one by one. You have to determine the positive and the negative implications of each alternative, and then you have to determine the different cost and corresponding income on the different alternatives, because you have to conduct also a cost-benefit analysis. And then you have to properly determine the qualitative and the quantitative impact of those alternatives. So that is how you evaluate them. So there will be a process of screening. Okay, then from our evaluation of alternatives, we'll be selecting the best alternative. So if we will rely on quantitative information, so of course the alternative that will give us the highest income will be chosen. But of course you have to weigh again the qualitative aspect of your alternative. So let us say the first alternative quantitatively will give us 10 million pesos, but it will have a negative impact on our environment. So you have to weigh those things now before choosing it as your solution to the problem. Okay, then we have implementation of the chosen alternative. So we're not doing the basis of decision making or the process of decision making just for nothing. There should be a problem to be solved. That is the reason why we are developing alternatives, and we have to implement the chosen alternative. We have to put them into action to determine if it is really the answer to our problem and to determine if there will be a difference in our sale on the profitability of the business. And lastly, of course, hindi tayo dapat bumitaw. The function of control is again present on the process or basis of decision making. We have to monitor the results to determine if we are achieving our objective based on the problems that we had identified. Since the basis of decision making requires the development of different alternatives and evaluation of those alternatives, it is better to represent the different alternatives using different models. Sa totoo lang, malikot ang ating mga pag-iisip. Marami tayong mga iniisip, so we call that as abstractions in our mind. And in decision making, since we have to develop different alternatives, we might as well make use of a model to represent those different alternative courses of action. So para mas magkaroon ng clear picture kung ano ba yung gusto nating mangyari. So let us say for example, sa design ng mga bagong car. So bago magkaroon ng mass production, bago magkaroon ng model car, para sa isang bagong design na kotse ng isang car manufacturing company, they will make use of drawings first, they will make use of pictures, they will make use of miniature cars in order to represent the design that they wanted. Kasi kung titignan natin, it will be a waste of our resources if we will be putting all our money or investment on a certain alternative. Pero pag pinresent naman natin sa board, pag pinresent naman natin sa mga owners, i-reject naman nila. So that means before making the actual product, let us first make a model of the product. Model is considered as an incomplete, simplified version of something. So it represents something, but of course, there will be difference. Kasi replica lang siya. Hindi siya yung mismong bagay, representation lang siya ng isang bagay. And there are different types of model. First one is physical model, which looks like their real counterparts. So here are the examples of physical model. So we have yung mga mannequin natin, yung mga statue natin. They represent us. They represent a person, they represent people. Kaya nga, kung minsan pag nakikita natin, wow, ang ganda ng damit nung nakasuot sa mannequin. So, parang tinitingnan natin, tayo yung mannequin. Sa mannequin, maganda. Pag suot natin, hindi na maganda yung damit, di ba? But the mannequin, kung titignan natin, it represents us. So, it's a way to attract customers to buy the product. So, nakikita yung kung paano ang magiging lapat ng damit, no? Pag nakasuot na sa atin. Okay, then we have yung mga Barbie dolls natin, mga manika natin, no? Mga kababaihan, nung bata pa tayo, sa mga lalaki, mga laruan nila, yung mga baril-barilan. So those are considered as physical models. Then yung mga lutu-lutuan, palayok-palayukan, mga toy airplanes, and all other toys na nilaro natin nung maliliit pa tayo, those are considered as physical models. Then, pagdating sa construction, sa engineering, sa architecture, meron silang scale model building, mga itatayo nilang building, mga condominium. So, dinidisplay nila to. So, para makita kung ano yung kayarian, itsura ng mga buildings na yan at the end. So, it is being represented by a scale model building. So, the same din sa mga construction ng houses. So, para nakikita na natin ano yung itsura ng bahay pag tapos na. So, it is being represented also by a scale model houses. So, yung sa Petron, if you have the car collection of Lamborghini, yan. So, kung titignan mo yung mga car collection na yon, kamukhang kamukha talaga sila ng mga totoong Lamborghini cars. Kaya na-enjoy ng iba yung pagko-collect ng mga ganitong klaseng toys. So, those are examples of physical models. So, kapag tinignan mo sila, kagayang-kagaya sila ng mga object na nire-represent nila. Kaya nga, in developing alternatives, if you could make use of physical models, mas maganda. Kaya para kitang-kita nyo na kung ano yung kalalabasan ng produkto ninyo, masusuri ninyo at all sides, no? At all views, at all aspect, kung ano ang kalalabasan ng ating product. Okay, then next type of model is the schematic model. So they are more abstract compared to their physical counterparts. So this type of model is being used if a physical model can't be used. So let us say, sabi natin kanina, we have the statue, we have the mannequin to represent people. Paano kung ang pinag-uusapan naman natin is sa marketing? Let us say population, our target market, say the number of enrollees at BPSU, so we want to represent that, it will be impossible for us to make use of mannequin or statue, diba? Ang dami-dami nun kung nasa 10,000 kayo as BPSU students. So what we could use is the schematic model. So here are the examples of schematic models. So you could make use of charts and graphs to represent the alternatives, to represent something in decision making. And you can use also, so kanina kung meron tayong mga scale model houses and buildings, so yung detail din yan, we can use a blueprint, yung mga perspective niyan, mga drawing niyan, mga photocopy niyan, no? Mga pictures, no? Mga sketches, mga paintings. So those are examples of a schematic model. So kung titignan natin, nire-represent din naman nila yung mga bagay-bagay na yan. Kaya lang, compared to physical model, ang physical model talagang kamukhang-kamukha sila nung nire-represent nila. So kitang-kita mo na kaagad yung actual na design ng isang product. Then last type of model is the mathematical model. So sa mathematical model, we will be using different formulas. So there will be different symbols, there will be numbers, letters, different symbols that will be used in order for us to come up with an alternative. So there are different formulas that we are using in science, in mathematics, so in decision making, in management, in business, and those are examples of mathematical model. So among the different types of models, a mathematical model is the easiest to manipulate. So if you want to make changes, all you have to do is to change the sign, to change the symbol, to change the variables. Compared to physical model, so once you have already the physical model and you want to make changes on it, so babaguhin natin, let us say, yung kulay ng kotse na pinresent natin. So you have to do the repainting on it. May babaguhin tayo sa bubong. Ayaw natin ng ganong klaseng materials na gagamitin sa bubong. So papalitan natin. Meron tayong gustong baguhin sa design sa bintana. So kailangan nating i-alter yon. Unlike under mathematical models, kung meron kang touch and go dyan, if you had used pencil on it, just use eraser, mababago na natin yung mga gusto natin baguhin. Okay, then again, so based on sa video natin sa activity 2, you have to understand the different type of environment you will be working with. It is an environment of certainty, uncertainty, and environment of risk. So I have already a discussion of that on activity 2. Okay, then last part again is the decision theory. So dito galing yung payoff table natin. So your decision theory is considered as a general approach in decision making. So if you have to decide for the capacity of your plant, if there will be changes, or you have to decide for the product and service design, equipment selection, and location planning, in the presence of different alternatives with you, then you will conduct cost-benefit analysis on that. You have to make use of the decision theory. And again, your decision theory could be represented by our payoff table. Okay, so that is it. So that ends our discussion for the preliminary parts of decision making. Thank you very much and have a good day ahead of you.